The achievement of controllable powered flight is certainly one of humanity's greatest collective accomplishments. It helped transform the 20th century, paving the way for a more connected world. As the years and decades went on, more and more planes and people began taking to the skies. Many different airplane manufacturers were competing against one another in a race to build the best and most reliable planes. With the expansion of aviation during this century, the sky's new inhabitants needed to learn to share the sky with its original inhabitants. This video is about an air disaster that occurred on one day in 1960, when these two worlds collided. The date was October 4th, 1960. An Eastern Airlines plane was positioned at Logan Airport in Boston, Massachusetts. The plane, along with its crew that would be heading back out on the accident flight, had arrived from New York in the afternoon. The pilots had begun making preparations for its evening flight to Atlanta, Georgia, flying as Eastern Airlines Flight 375. The plane flying that day was a Lockheed L-188 Electra. It's a 4-engine turboprop airliner that first took to the skies in 1957. Launching with Eastern Airlines in December of 1959, the planes had been in service with the airline for just under 1 year. In its early days, the plane was not very popular with passengers. Complaints about noise were common, and 3 hull losses occurred with the plane in its first year of operation. 2 of these appear to be linked to the aircraft's propeller engines. These are, however, unrelated to the accident of discussion today. Nonetheless, the Electra saw moderate success with 170 planes built in the years from 1957 to 1961. The plane today has now long since exited regular passenger service, but some do still fly in cargo and air tanker operations. As for Flight 375, 67 passengers would board the accident Electra that day. The journey to Atlanta would include multiple stops in Philadelphia and Charlotte. The accident occurred on the first leg. In fact, the plane wouldn't even make it out of Boston. Also on board were the plane's 3 pilots, Captain Curtis Fitz, First Officer Martin Calloway, and Flight Engineer Malcolm Hall. All of these pilots would have still been relatively new to this then-new airplane. 2 flight attendants tended to the passengers in the cabin and were sat at the rear of the airplane. At 5:35 in the evening that day, Eastern Airlines Flight 375 was cleared for engine startup. Boston's Logan Airport, even in 1960, had multiple runways in use. Runway 09 was the active departing runway that evening. The weather was cloudy. Meteorological observations indicated a cloud base of 6,000 feet, visibility of 15 miles, and an 11-knot wind from the southeast. Flight 375 made its way out to runway 09, awaiting takeoff clearance. Flight 375 began rolling down the runway with everything appearing as normal. The Electra accelerated up to its takeoff speed that day of 116 knots. The pilot flying then angled the plane into the air. At around 40 feet of altitude, the plane's climbing rate decreased for a few seconds before a normal angle of attack for climbing was achieved, and the aircraft began climbing again, with the pilots retracting the landing gear. In the next few seconds, what was supposed to be a routine takeoff became a deadly struggle to save the lives of all on board. A flock of starling birds had crossed the flight path of the Electra. The numerous birds struck the plane and 3 of its 4 engines. Engines 1, 2, and 4 had been struck, not only affecting the propellers itself, but also the birds were ingested into the internal parts of the engine via the inlet. Investigators would later find bird carcasses strewn across runway 09. To give you an indication of how many birds were here, the remains of around 75 separate starlings were identified. Starlings are known for flying in large formations called a murmuration. They typically fly in these sometimes large clusters around this time of the year in the mid-autumn. Bird strikes are not all that uncommon in aviation, even in the modern day. It's a routine scenario that pilots are taught to navigate in flight school. Bird strikes usually call for the affected engine to be shut down, Modern planes, such as the Airbus A320 for example, are designed to fly with one engine inoperable in scenarios such as this. To keep birds away from airports, the airports themselves can fix flight schedules around the times when local birds are most active. Noise disruptions to scare them away is also used, employing the use of sonic cannons or sirens. Depleting the area of the bird's food source naturally would lead to birds themselves migrating to different areas. It has even been known in extreme cases that bird populations would be forcefully culled to prevent bird strikes. Still, they happen occasionally today, but with little consequences to human life, thanks to years of knowledge, engineering, and pilot training. When they do occur, it is likely the bird strike will occur at or nearby an airport, as obviously birds don't fly at high airplane altitudes. If you were to be involved in a bird strike, you can easily expect your pilot to land safely. So what happened in the case of Eastern Flight 375? Firstly, the Electra is obviously not a modern plane. This occurred 62 years ago. This also wasn't just a bird strike. It involved a whole flock of birds striking 3 of the plane's 4 engines. Let's take a closer look at what happened to the engines when the collision with the Starlings took place. To do that, we need to more understand how propeller planes work. To achieve thrust from propeller planes, the propeller blades are not flat facing forward. They are instead angled to achieve optimum aerodynamic performance, with their own angle of attack into the air. The propellers themselves achieve thrust from the same aerodynamic principles that allow wings to generate lift. Air flows over the airfoil, exploiting the same physical quirks so that lift is generated. That lift is used as propulsion, directing the lifting force in the direction of the aircraft. This provides most of the plane's thrust. On turboprop planes such as the Electra, additional thrust is created with the help of the engine behind it. Air from the propeller is blasted into the engine inlet and works similar to that of a turbofan engine as seen on a jet, but doesn't provide anywhere near the comparable energy. The engines found on the Lockheed L-188 Electra was the model T-56 manufactured by Allison Engine Company and later Rolls-Royce. For the pilots on board Flight 375, they seemed to notice a significant problem with the number 1 engine. The emergency shutoff handle was pulled for engine 1. When this is done, the propeller blade's angle shifts to what is called a feathered position. This means that the blade is angled with its edge facing forward. This is necessary to reduce drag, as a stationary blade in its regular position, though the blade is angled slightly, will still act as a large flat-ish surface, creating a large amount of drag force. The pilots would not attempt to shut down any of the plane's remaining 3 engines, as indicated by the recovered cockpit wreckage. The salvaged engines did reveal that engines 2, 3, and 4 were in relatively good condition given the circumstances. The shutdown of engine 1 led to a temporary loss of power in the remaining engines. As there was some damage from the birds to engines 2 and 4, there was also a reduction in thrust there. The reduction in thrust coincided with a critical phase of flight. It is believed that bird remains had clogged the plane's pitot tubes, leading to airspeed indication being unreliable to the pilots. Analysis of the salvaged windshield also suggests that bird remains may have obstructed the outside view of the pilots, possibly even leading to spatial disorientation. This all culminated in an aerodynamic stall and a struggle to regain control of the plane just seconds after takeoff. The plane yawed to the left relative to the runway. The wings were brought to a level position momentarily, though the nose of the plane was pitching dangerously high to the point that no further altitude was gained. Over the next few seconds, the pilots continued to struggle with control of their airplane. Eventually, it rolled over to its left, with its nose dropping below the horizon, at an altitude of just a few hundred feet. Eyewitness accounts on the ground and from surviving passengers noted black smoke emanating from the engines, some even suggesting that flames were visible. Eastern Airlines Flight 375 plunged into the waters of Winthrop Bay. The lives of 62 people were lost, leaving 10 survivors. Those survivors, consisting of 8 passengers and the 2 flight attendants, happened to be sitting in the rear of the cabin. They were ejected from the plane at the moment of impact, rescued shortly thereafter from boats that already happened to be out in the bay at the time. The rest of the plane's occupants perished in the disaster. It is believed that it was First Officer Calloway who was at the flight controls during the crisis. Analysis of the First Officer's seat suggests that maintenance was not properly carried out in the cockpit. Apparently, the seat had slid backwards about 6 weeks before the accident. When pilots would try to adjust that particular seat, it wouldn't stick in the desired position. The problem hadn't been fixed. How this relates to the accident is that the pilot flying would have compensated for the unexpected yawing of the aircraft by applying the necessary rudder inputs, therefore pushing his seat backwards, therefore inadvertently pulling back on the control wheel, which could have instigated the critical stall that brought the plane down, highlighting once again that in every disaster, it is likely that there are multiple contributing factors at play. It was determined that these types of turboprop planes were more sensitive to bird strikes, and so it was recommended in the aftermath of the accident that steps be taken to improve resilience of planes and reduce damage caused by birds. It was also stated that it may be necessary to reduce bird populations around airports. Hello everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. If you found it to be interesting, be sure to be subscribed as there is always a new video every Saturday. A like is also always appreciated on videos as well. Just a quick thing to say, a massive welcome to all the new recent viewers and subscribers. The recent video that we made about the rail disaster seems to have gone over exceptionally well. So we are going to make more of those videos going forward, and we have a few ideas in mind. Just with the nature of the train simulator, they won't be as common, but they are coming. A big thanks once again to my patrons over on Patreon for their continuous support on the channel. Their names are on the screen right now, so if you see your name here, a massive thanks to you. Patrons get early access to all new content 48 hours before it goes out publicly on YouTube. If you would like to join and get early access yourself, you can join via the link in the pinned comment below from just £1 per month. That is all I have for you this week, and that is where I will end the video. Thank you so much for watching, have a great day, and I will see you next week. Goodbye!